So today I've come out to test, is bracketing better or is using ND grads better? We'll find out. Today I've come to Widdop Reservoir. What I'm here for and what I want to test out is something I've been thinking about for a little while now, and that is, do you need ND grad filters? I've talked about this before and I haven't been using them, but I get a lot of comments telling me that people don't like bracketing, they don't like HDR, and they use ND grad filters. So I wanted to test it out to try and find out whether they are required. So today I've come out and it's the middle of the day. I'm on a little bit of a scouting mission here at Widdop Reservoir. When conditions are bright like this, it's not the best time to shoot. It's around midday now. There's no clouds in the sky either, but you can still get half decent shots. The way to do it is just make sure the sun is behind you, which it is here. I've got the camera set up over Widdop Reservoir and I'm just going to go for a very, very simple shot. I'm at about 40 millimeters. It's going to be looking out over the reservoir with that nice dark blue reservoir and that nice bright blue sky. Before we get into that though, I think we just need to talk a little bit about post-processing and what some people see as cheating. Now, Ansel Adams, one of the best landscape photographers of all time, said that there's 3 stages to making a photograph. The first one is in camera, and that's what a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on, but then there's 2 other stages. Secondly, it's the post-processing, what would have been in the darkroom, and then the 3rd stage is the print. So you've got those 3 full stages to making a photograph, and it's no different today. We've got the in-camera bit, we've got the post-processing, it's just digital now, and then the print at the end, hopefully, if you are printing your work, and you definitely should. There's no such thing as an unprocessed image. There just isn't, and it definitely isn't cheating. A raw file, when it comes out of the camera, is unprocessed and it's not ready to be looked at. It's just digital data that comes out of your camera that needs to have things applied to it in processing, very much like a negative came out of a film camera in the day after it was processed in the lab. There's a lot of people claiming, I like to get it right in camera. Now, fair enough, if you want to get as much right in camera as possibly you can, then do so. But if you're claiming that as some sort of higher ethical or moral or some sort of higher claim because you're getting it all right in camera, then just understand that if you're not processing your raw files, the files are going to look dreadful anyway. If you're doing it with JPEG, then your camera is still applying some post-processing. It's adding saturation, it's adding contrast, it's adding sharpness, and they're the things that you generally will want to add in post-processing anyway. So there's just no way you can really get an unprocessed or unmanipulated image. So let's just forget about that. Where we start going into areas of cheating, I think, is when you actually adjust the landscape. So if you start cloning things in, cloning things out, that's when we start to get into areas of cheating. But actually using your artistic vision to create a photograph from the landscape that you see, that involves processing, and that's all part of that artistic process. Another thing that Ansel Adams said is that a photograph does not totally represent the scene in front of you. That's the artistic vision coming from the photographer, and you're using that landscape as the focus of your art. But the way you put the perspective you use on the camera, whether you use a wide angle, a more narrow angle, the low perspective, high perspective, all that type of thing will change the way the landscape looks. The distance between the camera and the actual landscape is what actually changes the perspective. But all those different things will result in a landscape looking different, which is why if you get 2 landscape photographers right next to each other in the same landscape, those pictures will often look really, really different. So that aside, I wanted to test whether you actually need ND grads, because I have a little issue with them. There are pros and cons to it. The pros are that you are getting a little bit more right in camera and you're not having to rely on post-processing. On the con side, and I think there are more, is that they're a faff to use, they're expensive, and I hear a lot of people or a lot of photographers running workshops and things selling ND grads to absolute beginners when they just don't need them, and it's just making money for the sake of it on people's belief that they actually need ND grads, and I genuinely don't think they do, certainly in the early stage. There's nothing wrong with them. If you choose, after a little bit of experience, to invest in some ND grads, then that's what you should do. I don't use filter systems at all. I prefer the screw-on filters. I use a lot of ND filters for long exposure, and you might want to have a filter system for that, because you can then just buy the adapter rings to put on the front of your lenses and then just slide the filters in and out, and that's the same for the ND grads, but I just prefer to have screw-on filters because I just think they're much less faff and I just prefer them. That's just me. Anyway, let's get back to what we're here for, and that is to take these images and see what difference it makes between the ND grad software and the ND grad hardware, and does bracketing make a difference as well, and will that really replace an ND grad? Right, I've got my shot composed and I've got the focus locked in, so that doesn't change between the three different types of shot we're going to take. The first one is just going to be a straight up image, well exposed, without anything done to it. I haven't got any filters on the front at the moment. I haven't got a polarizer on or anything like that, so it's just this Canon 5D Mark IV doing its thing. Secondly, we will then use the ND filter. This is a 2-stop ND filter. We'll slide that on, see what that does, and then the third one I will bracket 2 stops either side of this original exposure. So let's give it a go. We'll go with the first one. I'm already set up, so I'm just going to use the 2-second timer to shoot the image. That's done, so we'll then slide the ND filter into the front just here, and make sure I've got the horizon line in the right place. There we go, and then shoot the second image just like that, and then we'll take that back out and go with the bracketing. So I just need to hit the Q button here, roll my brackets up to 2 stops either side. I'm in manual mode. I'm at f8 because I haven't got any foreground interest in this. I'm zoomed in onto the water. I'm at 1/320th of a second, ISO 100 as always with landscape photography, and then I'm just going to shoot that bracketed images. Okay, so the shots are in the can. Let's get back to the studio, out of this Yorkshire wind, and see what the difference is with those shots. Okay, so we're back in the studio. I think we just need to get straight into the computer and have a look at those images. Okay, so here we are. And I had to get a little spinny thing in there, didn't I? But these are the 3 images. This one here is the HDR, which I've already edited. This is the one with the ND grad, and this is the straight up shot from the Canon 5D Mark IV. So let's just have a look at what I've done so far. And I have done a very simple edit, just really minor adjustments. They were underexposed a little bit, but that's not a problem. I have then added a software grad, and with this high dynamic range shot, I've got some real nice control over that. I like that shot. I like the effect of that ND grad, and it's perfect. There is no noise in there or anything like that, and that's what I like about bracketing. Let's go back to the grid and go to this one, and what I'm actually going to do is copy the settings from this one and then just paste them onto the one with the ND grad, which is what this is, because what I did was just use exactly the same exposure settings. So I'm going to paste that, those settings go in, and then what I'm going to do is just go into the graduated filter, delete that, and then we will have a direct comparison. Let's just go and do that for the straight up shot from the Canon 5D Mark IV, and this time we can leave that in because this one didn't have the ND grad filter on there, so I'm going to leave the software version in there. So let's go back to the grid and we'll compare all 3. And as you can see, we've gone 2 stops down on this one and this one with the software, And this has a 2-stop ND grad filter, and you can see there is somewhat of a difference. So either the software's getting it wrong, or that's not quite 2 stops, or it's 2 stops right to the edge of the glass, and I haven't had it pulled all the way down, so it's likely that that's probably about 1 stop. We can see, I think, if we go full screen, that I prefer that one because I like the slightly darker sky. I could add a software grad to that, but that then defeats the purpose of having the grad there in the first place. I think that's a better shot than that, and that has added also a bit of a colour cast as well. You can see the colour is slightly different from the other two without that filter, and they're very similar. It doesn't really give the perfect example of when to use bracketing because, as you can see, the straight up image has done a perfectly good job as it is. But when you've got more extreme lighting conditions, that bracketing can be really useful. That's a bracketed shot. It doesn't have that so-called HDR look. A lot of people seem to be either confused or concerned that just because you create a HDR, it doesn't have to have that HDR look. It still looks realistic. It doesn't make it an unpleasant image at all. Some people have been very concerned about that, and I'm not quite sure why. So I really can't see any improvement or increased quality in the shot that has used the ND grads. The software version seems to be doing a really good job. Okay, so for me, that pretty much settles it. I can't see any benefit of using that hardware ND grad filter. I prefer the ND grad software filter, and that's what I'm going to continue to do with bracketing. I think that is the better option. Especially if you're a beginner, don't go straight away and invest in the ND grad filters because that's what people think you need to do or tell you need to do. Go ahead, give bracketing a try. If you then later want to pick it up, like I said earlier, then go ahead and do so. There's definitely nothing wrong with using them. I'm not saying that. Also, when I was out and about earlier, I took a couple of other images. Long exposure is where it's at for me, and I took this image and this image, both long exposures, one with some circular polarizer, one without. I can't decide which I like better, but I thought I'd just share that image because I captured that today and I was really quite pleased with it. Also, I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Has this changed your opinion of ND grad filters or of bracketing? I'd really love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Please let me know. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you on another one out and about again on a normal type vlog very, very soon. I'm Adam. This is First Man Photography. Out. Just look at that view at the top of Skiddaw Mountain in the Lake District.